These things are ruining your marriage. How to stop them. Hey guys, my name is Danny. I'm your life and relationship coach. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, we are talking about the things that are potentially ruining your marriage, right? Um, there are multiple different things that we can be discussing, but I wanted to go through the most common ones that I have come to find, that I have discussed with clients in my one on one coaching sessions, and the ones that I've actually dealt with most frequently. And the first thing that I have dealt with most frequently is the blame game, right? Getting stuck in this pattern of blame can be incredibly detrimental to the relationship. And most of the time, the reason why you are stuck in the blame game is because either you or your partner are not willing to listen, right? Communication is not just about expressing your feelings or the way that you or the things that you're thinking, but it's also about taking a step back and listening to what your partner has to say, being empathetic, putting yourself in their shoes. And oftentimes there have been years of or months of unresolved issues, right? And you just cannot find a way to resolve conflict. We get into this pattern of the blame game where it's no, it's not me, you did this. Well, when you did this, it's because, I was feeling this way. And it's this cycle that goes on and on and on and on. And at some point, the only way in which you can stop the blame game is if somebody just waves the white flag and says, you know what, enough of this. Let's sit down, let's have a productive conversation, and let's try to resolve the actual issue at hand. Now, if you do not know how to do that, which is completely understandable because most of us don't know how to do that, I have created an incredible product that will help you guys to navigate that situation. It is my communication product. I've mentioned it in a few videos before. And really what it goes through is just the fundamentals of communicating and how to resolve conflict, right? Specific steps, how to create a controlled environment for yourself, how to have a productive conversation, how to set up that conversation, just multiple different things that will help to get you to where you want to be in regards to resolving conflict. So again, I highly recommend that product. If you want to know where it is, you just click on the product section on our website, which is happily committed.com, and you will find it there. Um, the next part, or the second thing that I've come to find, is labeling your partner, right? Labeling your partner basically means that you have a certain way that you think about your partner, right? You have already in your mind convinced yourself of the person that they are, which means when they do things that are outside of that, it's uncomfortable for you, or you may not recognize them, or you may, criticize them for doing things that are actually maybe more so in line with their own authentic personality, their own authentic self, but because you have not accepted that part of them and you've decided to label them a very particular way, it's causing some issues. And the one thing that I like to say to people quite frequently is the image of me you created in your mind is not my responsibility. So, if you have created this image of your partner in your mind, guess what? That's not their responsibility. That's on you, or vice versa. Maybe your partner has created this image of who you are supposed to be, and that's just not who you are. That's their responsibility. That's not your responsibility to deal with. And accepting that person, accepting you for who you are, is the most important part of being able to navigate and maintain and sustain a healthy relationship. The third one is assumptions. The assumptions are the killers of relationships. And the reason why is because our brains have this incredible way of creating all of these scenarios that do not exist, right? And if you allow yourself to get into that headspace, if you go down the rabbit hole, what you start to do is create this perpetual cycle of catastrophic thinking. You think the worst, you assume everything. Now, it may not necessarily be your fault, right? Or your partner's fault. Maybe the communication in the relationship is not that great. Maybe there's a lot of things that are left open to interpretation. Maybe you're not expressing yourself with whole messages, right? Maybe you're expressing yourself with contaminated messages. And if you don't know what that is, again, you can find that in my communication training. Generally speaking, a whole message is something that includes four primary things, which is what you observe, what you think, what you feel, and what you need. So if you're not communicating in that way, of course there's going to be room for interpretation. Of course there's going to be room for assumptions. And when we get into that territory, it can get really sticky. So trying to not assume things is one of the most important things that you can do. Ask clarifying questions. If you're not sure, ask. It is the best way of going about getting information and getting clear information so you feel like you don't have to guess or assume what your partner is thinking or doing. The fourth one is pessimistic thinking, right? Thinking that everything is horrible, thinking that nothing is going to go right, thinking that there is something lurking around the corner waiting to mess up your day or mess up the relationship. And if you are the type of individual who thinks this way, right, has very pessimistic thinking, then it's important to consciously and actively try to change that dialogue, that script in your mind. There is no magic pill for this, right? A lot of this has to do with building self confidence, stepping outside of your comfort zone, doing things that you usually would not do to try to gain a level of comfort in those things, trying to actively make the decision to not think negatively. So every time you say to yourself, oh my God, this is going to go horribly wrong, immediately follow that with, no, actually, it's going to be great. I'm excited. I'm not anxious. This is going to be fun. And changing the dialogue in your mind. That's more so about consciousness and having a really strong sense of self awareness to be able to do that. Now, if self awareness is something that you struggle with, I've also created a product that will help you to gain that sense of self and help you to develop as an individual. You can find it in the same section as you can for the communication training. And I highly recommend it if this is something specifically you are struggling with. Now, the last piece to the puzzle is selfish thinking, right? You are in a relationship. It is incredibly important to be open to your partner's ideas, right? Their way of thinking, their ideologies. It's a two-way street. It's a partnership. It's not about one person in particular. And maybe this isn't you, right? Maybe you are the person who is more empathetic and more open and more understanding, and your partner is the one that has a tendency of really thinking in a selfish type of way. If that is the case, then it's really starting to have that open dialogue and that communication saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling about the situation. I think that you have a tendency of maybe turning the spotlight on yourself during certain circumstances. Why? And how can I help with that? Is there something that I can do? Is there a way that I'm communicating that may not necessarily be working for you? Whatever the case may be, having selfish thought is not the best thing for a relationship. It will not contribute to a healthy, long lasting relationship. If you guys like this video, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below. I love to hear what you have to say, so please make sure you leave your comments down below as well. I read as many of them as possible. I try to respond to as many as possible as well. Maybe you just want to know a little bit more, right? You want to dive in a little bit deeper. You can find a multitude of different articles and blogs and videos related to this subject and many other subjects as well on our website, www.happilycommitted.com. Again, that's also where you find the products that I was talking about in this video in the product section, which I highly recommend, particularly if you are struggling with self-awareness and communication. Maybe you just want a little bit more support. You can book a one-on-one coaching session with either myself or any of the other amazing coaches that we have on the team via the website as well. Again, my name is Danny. I'm your life and relationship coach. I hope you're staying happy, healthy, and I'll see you soon.